Buenos días and welcome to Comunidad del Valle, and have a happy Mother's Day. This morning we're going to do things a little bit differently here on Comunidad del Valle. We will debate Proposition 227. On our right for the debate tonight, this morning, will be Ron Unz. Ron is the president and CEO of Wall Street Analytics in Palo Alto. He has undergraduate and graduate degrees from Harvard, Cambridge, and Stanford Universities. In 1994, Ron Unz received 34% of the vote in a Republican primary against Governor Pete Wilson. With him is Fernando Vega. Fernando is past member of the Redwood City Board of Education and of the Redwood City City Council. In 1992, he was chosen by the Clinton-Gore campaign to hold regional drive to recruit Latino voters. He was successful in recruiting 18,000 Latino voters in that region. He helped establish bilingual education programs while on the Redwood City Board of Education. On our left, we have Assemblyman Mike Honda. He's a former teacher and principal here in San Jose, also a former member of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. He's leading the campaign against Proposition 227 in Sacramento, and he was quoted of saying in the San Jose Mercury News that Proposition 227 is the most devious, un-American proposition anyone ever visited on our children. With Assemblyman Mike Honda is Dr. Sarah Garcia from Santa Clara University. Dr. Garcia is Director of Teacher Education Programs. She has a PhD in Educational Psychology from UC Santa Barbara. She published the article Origin and Destinies, a Mayday Mexican Corrida and Symbolic Personal Legacy. Good morning to all of you, and thank you so much for coming here. We'll start with you, Ron. We're going to start with a 1-minute opening statement from each party, and we'll start with Ron.
Well, I think bilingual education was a very well-intentioned government program when it was begun 30 years ago, but it's never worked properly. Right now in the state of California, hundreds of thousands of children are placed in classes where they're taught almost no English during the school year. And because of that, they never learn, in many cases, to read and write English properly. The official government statistics today say that 95% of the children every year who start a school year not knowing English have not learned English by the end of that school year. And that's the reason we have to end this program, pass Prop 227, and teach English to all these children as quickly as possible once they begin school.
Okay. Assemblyman Mike Honda.
The reason I'm opposing your initiative, Mr. Unz, the Proposition 227, is because as an educator, I believe that your methodology is untested. It has no data to support that it is successful. Other things about the Proposition 227 is that it takes away local control from the local school boards. They're the ones that should really decide what's going to be best for the communities, because the communities are so diverse in the state of California. The other point is that it takes away the ability of teachers to be able to teach to the children in the ways that they've been trained. Your initiative says that they shall teach English only in English and in no other way. That attacks their ability to teach with the skills that they've learned over the years, and also it attacks their academic freedom. It also sets up children for failure. Essentially, if you're a kindergartner, you're saying to a child who comes in that they have to learn to speak English in 180 days against children who have been speaking English since they were born for 5 years, and if you count the womb, it's 5 years, 9 months.
Okay, that's 1 minute. Somebody with Mike Honda will have a whole half hour to talk about how we feel about Prop 227. Tell us essentially, Mr. Unz, what is in your proposition? What will you do with our kids?
It's a very simple idea. Once children begin school, if they don't already know English, they would generally be placed in a short-term, intensive, sheltered English immersion program to teach them English as quickly as possible. Once they learned enough English to do regular schoolwork in English, they would be moved into the regular classes with all the other children. Now, our proposition doesn't outlaw bilingual education. Those parents who wanted to place or keep their children in a bilingual program could apply for a waiver to do so. But I think most parents want their children taught English as quickly as possible once they begin school.
Will it work having Cambodian, Vietnamese, Filipino students, having them in one classroom for 1 year? Do you think that will help them? Will that help them succeed?
Oh, I think very much, because besides the fact that all of them will be learning English together, since they come from so many different ethnic backgrounds, they'll get to know children from other ethnic backgrounds. Today, many of these bilingual programs really amount to racial segregation. In other words, all of these different ethnic groups are kept in classes with only people from their own ethnic group. And I think it's better if children get to know children from lots of different backgrounds, which would happen under our initiative.
That's really inaccurate. I was a bilingual teacher, and I also had bilingual schools. I was a principal. I had bilingual Cambodian, bilingual Vietnamese, and bilingual Spanish. And in the classroom, we had a mixture of youngsters in there because you had to have English models in the classroom while you instructed to the children. And so, you know, primary language is an instructional tool. It's not a crutch like people say. And if you say that the children are not learning English and 95% of them are failing, it's because they're all being taught in English.
But that isn't true. I mean, again, look at the government statistics, and not only that, but again, most of these statistics are controlled by the bilingual education establishment. So it's hard for us to find out what the true numbers were. But in Los Angeles,
what are the true numbers?
Excuse me,
Tell us the true numbers.
I'll tell you the true numbers. In Los Angeles, they did a study, and LA has half of all the bilingual students in the entire state, and they showed when you look at children who started a bilingual program in kindergarten, after 6 straight years in bilingual education, 2/3 of them had still not learned enough English to even take a test in English. And that's what I call failure. 6 years in bilingual education, and 2/3 had still not learned English.
Okay, we will continue this debate when we continue here on Comunidad del Valle. We'll talk to Fernando Vega, who supported bilingual ed and now is opposed to it, and also to Dr. Sarah Garcia. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Comunidad del Valle. This morning we are debating Proposition 227 on the June 2nd primary ballot here in the state of California. We'll go to you, Fernando, this time. You were an advocate of bilingual education at one point, and now you are against it. Tell us why.
Well, because it has failed. Bilingual education has been a failure for 25 years. The concerns Mike Honda has expressed here about the initiative, let me remind him that the initiative has never been acted upon here in California. He speaks about the initiative, but I wish he would address himself to the failure of bilingual education for 25 years. This initiative has not been tried at all. I mean, it's going to be implemented when it gets voted on June the 2nd. Let's talk about the bilingual education. Why is it that we want to terminate it? Because it has been a tremendous failure, and it affects the Latino kids throughout the state of California.